My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. That's Stalking in the Path 9TAZ076, the Demons in Unit 41, and this is the fake sun that stays over the apartment building until sunset after 6 p.m. This is documentation of bathroom monitoring. Tracy Banks' cell phone rings with simultaneity to my getting up off the couch. This is analogous to LYNDA Reyes stalking in the path outside of the apartment on the sidewalk going into the clubhouse right here, like is documented at 8:44 yesterday in the morning. This is stalking with activity and anticipating where I'm going in order to engage in the sex offense of bathroom monitoring, which the people of the state using communication devices also engage in, and they're engaged in bathroom monitoring as well. This is P.O.C. This crossing path under the fake sun with the Ontario police you saw flying in circles. They use the aged, they use the minors, they use all races. They're including Tracy Banks, those you are blood related to, those that you don't even know by name. You know them though by their presence in the environment, which defies nature, and it's beyond any coincidence. It's the deliberate pattern of conduct, which there's no sun over Alvarado Gardens over my office, while this aged third-party gang stalking sex offender over 55 is monitoring at at Woodside Senior Apartments. That's light activity, crossing path. They do the same thing at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Remember when the fake sun is right here? This is called P.O.C. It's currently 9:19 p.m. This same family crosses path on this sidewalk where their shadows appear on the inside of this apartment. She's monitoring. All right, it is currently again 9:19 a.m. P.O.C. All right, a documentation of what is federal stalking. It's Title 18 conduct that's occurring on the venue of the internet. It is evidence of it. The current time is 3:19 p.m. and with simultaneity to my waking up, and the entity is engaging in the P.O.C. relative position. This is in chair light, framing the front door, concentrated at the ceiling. Completely impossible light activity. Very demonic. The same light that's framing the front door as it was on video at 9 o'clock in the morning. Have nothing to do with sunlight. In this environment, surveillance is underway on the internet as well, and the entity is monitoring everything that I'm doing online, including as I do it, including waking up. This is watching Dateline Live 24/7. or ads don't interrupt the show. Dateline includes commercials in its live 24-hour feed. Immediately as I wake up, the Dateline that's been running for hours uninterrupted is now interrupted with an ad. I'm pausing it in order to record it. This is the entity that's not conducting any legitimate investigation. This is the entity that's engaged in stealing my content, suppressing it, and is still engaged in monitoring. I'm going to prosecute the government for keeping me under surveillance with the people of the state.
What defines you as a pro? Precision separates you from the rest. Shark Bite Max.
Amazon Home Find. This is probably one of the easiest outdoor security cameras you'll ever install. It's wired and waterproof, connects to Wi-Fi and has 4K resolution, full color night vision with a spotlight, motion and human detection with an alarm to scare up bad guys, rotates 355 degrees horizontally and 90 degrees vertically, and supports auto tracking, two-way audio,
Get out of my yard.
SD card slot for internal storage, and has no monthly fee.
Okay, this is going to go back into the regular show, which is Dateline, which doesn't have any ads interfering in the feed. It is indeed live, and it's been live for hours with no ads. The moment that I wake up is when the ads interrupt, and I want to be clear. Let me give you some sexual context. The government that is monitoring, that is a sex offender, the entity that's a bunch of demons who are monitoring, are engaging in what is those two commercials are engaging, first of all, plumbing. That's a reference to sexual activity, unwanted sexual activity that the two sex offenders, Tracy Banks, her sex partner, Jason Isaac Fields, this is somebody that's not a legitimate government actor, that's engaged in what is monitoring, spiritually attacking, pleading for sexual activity with me while he's a sex partner of Tracy Banks. They're both engaged in targeting. Plumbing is a reference to sexual activity, and also the next ad regarding cameras. This is the entity that's engaging what is monitoring subliminal messages through what are the ads, which is used to monitor you. That's also a means of harassment. It's not entertaining. It's something that is relevant to psychological torture. It's something that's relevant to ongoing surveillance. This is something that the government is engaging in, and the entity is doing it while it is unwanted as well, and I'm documenting it. The interruption with ads pertaining to what are subliminal messages regarding sexual activity, and the fact that I'm subject to surveillance, given an ad about cameras and whatnot. The entity that's watching, the entity that is also, again, engaged in it and interested and obsessed with the idea of sexual activity with me. This is the same venue where the entity is engaging in what is ads referencing pubic hair, a reference to the genitalia. Ads interrupting in areas where ads are not typically arriving in the feed, in order to reference what is the summertime, where the entity is engaging what is referring to the fact that I am documenting the fake sun. This is the personal and very unique messaging of the entity that is gang stalking and engaging in surveillance on the venue of the internet. I'm going to prosecute the entity. This is indeed, this is indeed YouTube. That's what I wanted to zoom in on. And the old people at Woodside Senior Apartments are indeed gang stalking. It's currently 3:23 p.m. and the entity is amplifying audible activity. Tracy Banks is gang stalking in relevant position. She's monitoring with the amplified noise inside of this unit. She is aware of what I'm doing. The entity that's monitoring on the video internet is the single entity that's gang stalking. This is the surveillance that's underway in the United States that I'm exposing. And I'm gonna go ahead and include the documentation of the fake sun, because the entity had the fake sun over me. When you're looking at, this is impossible light activity, entirely demonic. This is aimed from the ground, right? So at some vantage point, the sun is so low that it's also aiming light that is at a downward trajectory. This is the amplified audible activity that is coexisting with impossible light activity that has nothing to do with sunlight. And it is also traveling up and around the ceiling. This is entirely demonic. The entity is engaging in what is the P.O.C. of stalking with noise and stalking with light. And the demon possessed are doing so pursuant to specific knowledge about what I am physically doing, waking up. This is where the fake sun was, where the elderly woman, the Latina woman, and they were walking over to the vehicle 9TAZ076, and that was where the fake sun was, right here. That was during the 9 a.m. hour, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. It is currently, like I stated, 3:24 p.m. and the position of this fake sun also has nothing to do with the position of engineered light that's reaching on the inside. Let me zoom out for you. because what's not going to happen is sunlight piercing into the apartment at a downward trajectory onto the floor and also framing the inside of the apartment along the wall and the ceiling. This is evidence of what are demons who are stalking by residents while they're monitoring. And also, this is what is the entity that's engaged in what is surveillance online as well. This is the United States. This is the city of Ontario. The sun that's perfectly aimed on Tracy Banks' apartment, that's sitting over her front door for, again, an additional 6 hours over the same front door. The entity is engaging in what is maintaining the fake sun at this time of year, including during the same time from sunrise till sunset over Alvarado Gardens, where I'm not going to get this angle of the fake sun, of the sun in the natural environment, and neither is in the natural environment is the sun ever in Florida. When one day documentation is showing 9 a.m. to after 3 p.m. This is not seen in Florida as well, as I'm standing at the same front door as I was at 9 o'clock in the morning, 3:25 p.m. And this has nothing to do with the engineered light that's inside of Tracy Banks' front door, along the ceiling, along the front, on the floor on the inside in front of the front door, and flame going up the wall. This is the fake sun. This is the poor setting for where demons are doing nothing other than stalking with light. The sun is not causing that concentrated light that's on the floor like I showed you. And the demons inside of this building, all of them 49 through 64, are engaging in surveillance as well on behalf of the city of Ontario that was gang stalking with LYNDA Reyes at 9 o'clock in the morning yesterday. That was May 8, 2025, where she's gang stalking in that clubhouse. And the fake sun is right here. The entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct with the city of Ontario that's engaging in surveillance, and that's why the entity arrives in helicopter. And by arrive, I mean they participated in the elements of monitoring on camera, which is very foolish, and that's why LYNDA Reyes is going to federal prison. LYNDA Reyes is engaged in monitoring inside of this apartment as well, and the entity is engaged in surveillance on the venue of the internet. The positioning of that fake sun is totally separate from the maintenance of this concentrated light that is concentrated on the floor, going around the floor, up the wall, and around the ceiling. This is where surveillance is underway on the venue of the internet, very personal, and also in relevant position. Amplified audible activities, AVANATH Capital Management's engagement in the pattern of conduct, because that property management company is profiting from domestic terrorism and psychological torture, where the entity is maintaining the elements of This is engineered light that's concentrated on the wall while I open the patio blinds, and this is a covered patio, so this is shade, and this is going to never create, this is shade out here, and this is again light that would be on the ground, and then you have a concentrated light that's appearing on the, so just pay attention to that concentrated character that's showing the shadow of this same, again, metal fence right here, this metal shelf. He is indeed engaged in monitoring, and interfering with the Dateline live feed is a mode of monitoring, surveillance, psychological torture, and it's also demonstrating impunity by the government that's also suppressing my evidence while I remain subject to it. Violent sex offenders like Jason Isaac Fields are engaging in this pattern of conduct and not conducting a legitimate investigation. This is all supporting what shall be orders mandating that the people of the state, especially those that I've documented by name, will never, without being prosecuted by under federal law for prosecution and subject to federal prison, come into contact with me, which is something that I will never consent to. I'm going to prosecute all the means of surveillance and invasion of privacy by the government, which is doing it through the people who are living under a fake sun because they're engaged in surveillance. And that fake sun is nothing other than recognizing the fact that they're all stalkers and they're demon-possessed ones, while engineered light and monitoring on the venue of the internet is also evident. This is P.O.C. It is currently 3:28 p.m. This is where the demon is stalking in the path, unit number 55, right above me on the couch where engineer light is present. And as you can see at November 6, 2024, she is gang stalking. She's walking along this sidewalk, and the Ontario Police Department crossed path while she is maliciously gang stalking me on foot under the fake sun that's right here at 12:15 on November 6, 2024. And she is gang stalking still right now, stalking with amplified noise. And no elderly person that's inside of the apartment above you is going to create what is the ceilings and the walls crackling. That's called audible activity. She's stalking right above me in the living room, and you know that because the fake sun is here and engineer light frames the front door. She's gang stalking with Tracy Banks as well. This is the entity that's engaged in that P.O.C. while you see that impossible light, and that sex offender is monitoring my vagina as well, along with every other co-defendant inside of units 33 through 64 who are subject to prison, and that's also why LYNDA Reyes is going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. LYNDA Reyes is acting with documented impunity, with the Ontario Police Department, who's also engaging in impunity, with the mentally ill who are stalking with light, stalking with amplified noise, which is demented behavior of human beings who are engaged in criminal surveillance, and that psychopathic personality disorder obsession with strangers, stalking them and monitoring them in a manner that's designed to result in what is supposed to be psychological torture, and also what is kidnapping in order to defame. License 5WB715, stalking in the path right here above me, and stalking while light remains inside of the apartment. And as I open the blinds, open the front door, and I'm showing you all the impossible light, all she's doing is gang stalking by residents and hitting the floor more often right now, which is monitoring the evidence against her, and also monitoring with the demon Tracy Banks right inside of this apartment, who's mentally ill as well. She's going to a mental asylum as well. This is stalking in relevant position in the apartment, stalking in relevant position in the ceiling, and all the demons in units 57 through 64 on the opposite side, the demons in units 52 on the walker, the two couples, the demons in unit 50, 49, the African-American male in unit 53, none of them responsible or capable of engaging individually, creating what is a crackling of the ceiling and the walls while they're walking around. So you are dropping a bowling ball while you know that I'm documenting you. You're doing so in a supernatural environment where the sun is sitting over the same front door for 6 hours. You're doing so when you're already documented gang stalk with the Ontario Police under the fake sun that's at 12:15 p.m. on November 6, 2024 on video. Her specific malice and focus on targeting me and gang stalking with the intent to obstruct justice is very, very well documented. And she is a sex offender as well, monitoring on the venue of the internet, not only documentation about her in particular as she's gang stalking, but documentation about her co-defendants such as LYNDA Reyes, such as Tracy Banks, such as Jason Isaac Fields, the government, the city of Ontario, AVANATH Capital Management. Daryl J. Carter will be prosecuted for criminal interference with quiet enjoyment as it's ongoing. It's 3:31 p.m. This is P.O.C. at Woodside Senior Apartments, where the entity is maintaining a fake sun over me. And as you'll recall, the documentation of Gabriel Arriaga Carbajal, when the fake sun is remaining over me, and March 30th, 2024, while I'm inside of my bedroom, I'm capturing that video at 3:38 p.m. 3:32 p.m. There's no natural environment where Gabriel Arriaga Carbajal and the LAPD are gang stalking together while I'm looking outside of my, so you can see the time here, while I'm looking outside of my bedroom window, and the fake sun that you see over her living room window is coexisting outside of my bedroom window in Los Angeles. The two aren't happening at the same time. And that's where, by the way, the fake sun remained. Obviously, I kept capturing documentation of that throughout March, April, and May at the same time of year. The demon in Unit 55 is stalking with the intent to obstruct justice, but she's stalking as an entity, and all of them in Units 33 through 64 are going to prison and mental asylums for their openly demonstrated mental illness that they keep closeted while they engage in gang stalking with the government as a routine pattern of conduct in the state of California. The mental illness that's exhibited by one is the mental illness shared by all while they're engaging in that pattern of conduct in the specific environment and with impunity that's demonstrated in this video again. This is P.O.C. It is currently 3:33 p.m. Alright, it's currently 3:34 p.m. The video that you just listened to is captured, and what you'll see, I immediately take pictures as I resume the live feed on Dateline, and I take a picture of how the live feed on Dateline is operating, where there are no ads that interrupt it. Dateline intervenes its own show with about a minute and a half of just music, and it states that it's taking a break and that it will a return is in a moment or in a minute or as soon as possible or whatever. That's how the Dateline feed, the Dateline channel, that's a 24/7 stream operates. There's no ads that interfere. A Dateline includes its own breaks. And that immediately as I resume playing the live feed, that's what is exactly I take a picture of, and that's typically the operation of the Dateline 24/7 feed. The entity that's engaging in what is monitoring on the video of the internet uses ads as a means to monitor, and even the content of those ads is relevant to the personal crime of what is monitoring, surveillance. And surveillance is on the internet. Surveillance that's still underway while I am documenting with regard to monitoring with the intent to murder, kidnap, and psychologically torture. That is combined with the evidence that you also heard. The demons in the apartment building where the fake sun is sitting as of 9 a.m., 10, 11, 12, 1 to 6 hours, while the entity is gang stalking and the fake sun is over the same front door where you're looking at what is separate from the fake sun. The engineer light that's on the inside of Tracy Banks' apartment, framing the front door along the ceiling, the wall, and the floor, has nothing to do with the placement of that engineered light on the inside. It's a very poorly clearly set stage. It's the obvious demonic environment where typically you're not paying attention to it, but it has nothing to do with the engineered light that's on the inside. You're supposed to be under the impression that the sun is the cause for all the sunlight, but where the sun is sitting over Woodside Senior Apartment at specifically units 33 through 64, as I'm documenting it, which is supernatural, what is the sun and the cause for all the sunlight that's over Alvarado Gardens, for example, like I documented at this time of year, because it's not the natural environment. That's speaking to more than one sun based on the entity's lack of logic and purely demonic maintenance of an environment, supernatural maintenance of an environment. And the demons began manifesting in this video that you just listened to. This is why the psychopath, the mental health patient in Unit 55, began beating on the floor. That's the manifestation of demons. And they do that while I document them, while the evidence is very probative, while it's very damning. They resort to, including on camera, demons resorting to criminal defamation in the face of that evidence, proving their criminal conduct. That's a demon that's manifesting. And the demons are doing so exhibiting their mental illness, and it is going to be used relevant for their diagnosis and for their prosecution. That is their criminal activity, their pattern of conduct is relevant to the diagnosis of mental illness. You are mentally demented when you're stalking with light, when you're stalking in the path of someone else that you don't even know as well, on top of that, including maliciously targeting someone that you are personally familiar with, like faking to be a friend of someone, and you're actually monitoring them. That's very psychopathic, and it's very demented regardless of the relationship, but it's relevant to malice. And it's also very corrupt of the government to do so, and that's what AVANATH Capital Management represents in the environment where I'm also showing you the ads that are generated on YouTube. And the mental health patient that begins beating on the floor like she's dropping a bowling ball, she's doing so directly above me where I'm positioned in the living room, which is audible activity while the documentation is being captured. And this is when she began beating on the floor, by the way. All right, opening up the front door, as you know, is audible activity, light activity and relevant positioning at 3:37 p.m. under an idle fake sun. That's license 982Z740. The demon that is gang stalking with Tracy Banks and engineered light flashes inside of the apartment. P.O.C. As you will see, Tracy Banks is no targeted individual. She's engaged in targeting. That's why you see the fake sun idle as she crosses path. And as she opens the door, impossible light activity remains inside of the apartment, occurs inside of the apartment in the form of flashing engineered light inside of the apartment while opening the door. That has nothing to do with what is a product of any sunlight. Contrary to what I do as I walk, the fake sun moves. So pay attention to Exhibit A. This is exposing the difference between the demon that's engaged in targeting, all right, and the person that is the targeted individual. All right, this is the movement of the fake sun as I move, okay? You see how it remains stationary while I remain stationary and Tracy Banks walks away? It is not the same experience of the target individual, showing who Tracy Banks is actually stalking by even including walking away. The fake sun progresses, as my documentation shows, as I progress in the parking lot, like I've documented at all hours. 8WHC403 is gang stalking. The video that I just captured moments ago is showing what is activity creation while the demon is in the living room, license 5WB715, and beating on the floor while the demon is in the parking lot creating light activity in relevant position. They're monitoring together while the fake sun moves as I move. When Tracy Banks walks in this direction, the fake sun remains stationary. That is not what this is. Amplified train is Tracy Banks monitoring while a demon is crossing path. That's a Latino male who's stalking someone else. Mental illness is exhibited in their pattern of conduct. Walking south on what is Vine Avenue, crossing path. Tracy Banks moving her vehicle. You have what is the third party and the vehicle coming onto the grounds, and the fake sun is moving as I move. This is also not over Alvarado Gardens. License 8WHC403 is monitoring a woman's vagina, monitoring stalking a woman in a private space. He's a sex offender, and so is the city of Ontario, where the demonic pattern of conduct with a gang stalking mother who's a pedophile. He is a sex offender, so is the city of Ontario, monitoring a woman in an apartment, stalking together with the city of Ontario, where the sun is not outside of my bedroom apartment window, like I documented in the video that you saw today, referencing stolen evidence by this same entity that's still gang stalking, and the fake sun is moving as I move, which is not Tracy Banks's experience. That's not that demon's experience while he's driving away, and my documentation shows the fake sun moves as I move through the sunroof of my vehicle, through whatever vehicle that I'm in. It's not the shared experience of the demons who are stalking versus the one who is being targeted. Okay, this is the P.O.C. And that's the evidence of what is a demon that's gang stalking with the psychopath that's beating on the living room right where I'm positioned, where the entity is engaged in what is monitoring under an idle fake sun from 9 a.m. until what is 3:40 p.m. And Union Pacific is impossible. That's the train. The Ontario train is impossible to hear at any location over here. That is coexisting with what are the demons who are pacing in vehicles and on foot. And I'm showing you what is the fake sun that's stationary while Tracy Banks walks away, which is called crossing path. As I move, that fake sun moves. Not the same experience versus that's the difference between the demon, the witch, the gang stalker, the psychopath, and the one that is indeed being targeted. This is P.O.C. It's the same right here, Exhibit A. Those are the ones that are losing custody of their kids. 9CZC079. All right, this is the entity that's gang stalking on video this morning, continuously engaging in that. Under that light source that's remaining over your apartment is the evidence demonstrating impunity, and the entity is doing so on an ongoing basis. This same family exhibiting severe dysfunction, including minor children and a whole family full of demons that are gang stalking. They're all engaged in monitoring together. And this is malice and impunity, and this is why they're going to prison and mental asylums. This is P.O.C. That's activity creation by, again, license 9ZCZ079. And as they engage in what is walking on the sidewalk, never in the natural environment, ever, is walking under the sun, going to cause your shadow to appear on the inside of an apartment. Crossing path license F50FIVE is a demon stalking with impossible light activity underneath that carport, like you've already seen these same demons do when I'm documenting them pacing in the engineered environment. That license with the gray Cooper is gang stalking with children, one after another, pacing. Engaging in domestic terrorism and psychological torture with children is the evidence speaking to the intent to abuse them and keep them engaged in that POC with the government. This is exposing public corruption. And these are all sex offenders monitoring together. They're accessing license 9TAZ076. And this is the same old biddy that was monitoring me this morning. It's not a personalized crime. It's not personal with regard to the identity of the entity. It is personal with regard to monitoring me. License 9TAZ076 and using this old woman is the same pattern of conduct with regard to the maintenance of a fake son. This is the same one that's going to federal prison. Gang stalk with Ontario police, April 7th, April 8th, Ontario police that are crossing path on Vine Avenue as I'm documenting him, and you know that he's gang stalking me now. Very specific and very demented pattern of conduct of targeting someone and outwardly demonstrating what is a desire to appear nonchalant and separate. But the fake son and the engineer light evidence directly disproves that, and that's why this entire community is going to be prosecuted. They're all stalking violations of the Violence Against Women Act. They're all gang stalking as the movement of the fake son versus the idle presence of that fake son. As they move around, they're pacing. As I move around, that fake son moves as I move. That is not the shared experience, and that is the co-defendants of the pedophile, the sex offender, which they all are, while they're gang stalking with Tracy Banks. This is P.O.C. And this is evidence of the shared mental illness while a demon in Unit 55 is creating amplified audible activity while I document their sexual violence. And they're all engaged in as heavily surveilled as I'm showing is ongoing on the venue of the internet. Okay? This is P.O.C. It's currently 3:43 p.m. That's Unit 41. That's AVANATH Capital Management employees and the occupants engaging in what is demonstrated impunity. Gang stalking with the City of Ontario as well. The sound of the amplified train is impossible audible activity. You can exchange that with gang stalking by sirens, gang stalking by amplified plane, gang stalking by amplified helicopter, gang stalking under an idle light source that's over your apartment. You don't have to look at me or talk to me. The entity is obsessively gang stalking with impunity. That's why they're going to prison. And those adults in Units 41 are going to mental asylums. Every single last one of them. It is currently, again, 3:44 p.m. This is the position, again, of the fake sun that's remaining over me where Tracy Banks leaves that location. That is not the experience of the actually targeted individual. All right, the fake sun remains, and that's the point of capturing that documentation, showing that a community is gang stalking with the government. This is POC, this is demonic pacing, and while they drive, also, engineer light drags across the walls and on the ground. They're demons that are pacing together. This is POC, and this is a sex offense. They're all monitoring my vagina as a community as well as I am physically indisposed in the restroom, which is also public information, under an environment where the fake sun sits idle all day long. And the City of Ontario participating in the elements of monitoring speaks to the sex offender. That is Paul Leon, that is Mike Lorenz, that is Michael Gherkin, all right, that is Alan D. WAPNER. These are public officials that are engaged in the pattern of conduct. That's a residential street going 25 miles per hour. It's a means of amplified audible activity, and driving fast does not make amplified audible activity more realistic. Pay attention to the simultaneity of my naming public officials who are exposed as sex offenders and domestic terrorist leaders, while demons are monitoring my vagina together. As surely as you see pacing and light activity under the fake sun, that's the significance of hazard lights on under a fake sun, the same placement where the sun is rising as it's showing at 7:21 in the morning, and which has no placement outside of my bedroom window. That's the specific environment where that is ongoing, not the natural environment. This is P.O.C. Tracy Banks is indeed a witch, practicing witchcraft, spiritually attacking, stealing my content, profiting from it, misrepresenting her identity and status while she is gang stalking. That's why she's going to a mental asylum. So are her co-defendants in Unit 41. So is her co-defendant in Unit 55. And these demons are gang stalking in the past, stalking with the method of flashing light, stalking, creating light activity while they open and close their doors. All of the demons pacing, going inside of their vehicle, stalking with amplified noise on Vine Avenue, and doing so while I'm documenting the people of the state. That includes, again, Alan D. Wapner, Michael Gherkin, Mike Lorenz, Paul Leon. These are the public officials engaged in federal group stalking monitoring in the city of Ontario. Sexual violence and public corruption, it's facilitated by the government and the people of the state together. This is P.O.C. It is currently 3:46 p.m. Okay, 3:46 p.m. again, as I end the video, and you can see the fake sun, and you see the cooperative conduct of the demon-possessed in traffic on Vine Avenue, in the parking lot while traffic picks up, and the amplified audible activity of the amplified noise of the train, which is impossible to naturally hear. It's as impossible, which is proven through evidence, it's as impossible as the sun sitting over Tracy Banks' front door for over 6 hours, when you're even looking at the same defendants cross path again, both in the morning during the 9 a.m. hour, in the afternoon at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The entity engages in what is the same pattern of conduct when they are caught in that engagement in the P.O.C, which is all that they can do. But I want to be clear, what they can actually do is cease engaging in monitoring someone as opposed to engaging in more of it, and the demons begin manifesting. The audible activity gets louder, like is exhibited in the video, as I name Michael Gherkin, as I name Mike Lorenz, Alan D. Wapner, Paul Leon, gang stalkers that are in positions of authority in the city of Ontario, which is going to change when the elderly who are gang stalking with them, who engage in facilitation with the government, the local government, whose sexual perversion, whose predatory behaviors, their public corruption, and the ways in which the corrupt government is enabling a population, and the population is enabling a corrupt government, and in the shoes of that government engaging in what is surveillance, which is also satanic. The entity is gang stalking, as you are looking at pacing in the environment, and license F50FIVE, gang stalking with the city of Ontario on multiple occasions, including April 7th and April 8th. And you also know that he is stalking me while he's driving in that parking lot, and engineer light swipes across the brick wall, which I've also documented. That's exactly what's repeating over and over again, while demons are not driving through. That's not the physical conduct that you're focusing on. The fact that they are doing so, and impossible light activity swipes across the brick wall. Those are stalkers and demon-possessed ones who are specifically targeting me in an environment where a sun is idle over the front door, as I'm documenting the duration of time from 9 to after 3 p.m. And the demon that is manifesting in Unit 55 is a means of amplified audible noise, as impossible as hearing the Ontario train in the parking lot, at the in the apartment, on the sidewalk. It's as impossible as the light that's framing Tracy Banks' front door. All of these impossible features, however, I have proven in hard evidence. This is the same evidence that the entity seeks to suppress while it's still gang stalking. I want to be clear, the obstruction of justice is relevant to why and how long the demon in unit number 55, the demons in unit 41, and Tracy Banks in this unit 55 are all going to mental asylums. Okay, the entity is doing so and stealing my content, gang stalking while stealing my content, and I remain subject to that pattern of conduct. That's why you're going to be subject to confinement and you're not getting out. This is why government actors are subject to federal prison. You're not conducting a legitimate investigation. No matter at what point in time you decide to be on the right side of the law and engage in an investigation after you've engaged in stolen property, after you've engaged in repeated kidnappings and assault and battery as an entity, and stealing evidence against you while you are the entity engaging in that pattern of conduct, you are still subject to, and justice requires, federal prison. And this is a reference to the gang stalker Jason Isaac Fields and the corrupt government agency that is enabling a gang stalker, a domestic terrorist, a sex offender like Jason Isaac Fields to have anything to do with a so-called investigation, while I am documenting single-handedly the criminal pattern of conduct that he is engaged in still to date. While the demon in Unit 55 is stalked with amplified noise, understand that this is what LYNDA Reyes is going to federal prison for. And Jason Isaac Fields is not responsible for that documentation being created or published. Jason Isaac Fields is responsible for that evidence, that body of evidence being suppressed. therefore is responsible for the ongoing suffering and harms that are inherent to being subject to federal group stalking and monitoring. Jason Isaac Fields is still subject to that while his sex partner is pacing in and out of the apartment, and I'm documenting the fact that she never was a targeted individual, that she has always been a witch, somebody practicing witchcraft, gang stalking in conformity to a long pre-existing state system of targeting, surveillance, satanic methods of seeking to trying to defame someone when you're stalking someone as a population in an entirely supernatural environment that is right in front of your face, and evidence is required in order to prove it. In the face of that proof, the entity is still gang stalking. This is how you have the Unit 41 pacing out, replete with children. This is how you have the demons of Woodside Senior Apartments gang stalking. All of them are gang stalking with the vehicles that are coming into the parking lot, including the demon with license F50FIVE with impossible light activity, and every other vehicle coming in the parking lot. They're pacing while the residents in units 33 through 64, Lynda Reyes and every other employee are acting with that population, including amplifying train activity. They're all going to federal prison. Lynda Reyes is going to federal prison. Lynda Reyes is going to federal prison for Tracy Banks gang stalking. Lynda Reyes is going to federal prison for the residents gang stalking. Lynda Reyes is going to federal prison for the city of Ontario in concert with the public officials who identified gang stalking. Lynda Reyes is going to federal prison for working at a facilitating venue as a malicious domestic terrorist who was collecting a paycheck and wearing the mask of being a community property manager, where all she is a petty criminal engaging in what is domestic terrorism that's designed to result in murder and kidnapping. And that level of facilitation by working at a crime scene where you are facilitating surveillance by the government, surveillance that is also demonic, surveillance that is coexisting with the behaviors that are combined with the people of the state who are all together focused on one person, which is proven through that environment and that behavior which defies nature, and still doing it in that body of evidence that I'm collecting. Lynda Reyes is going to federal prison. Lynda Reyes is, again, the demon that you see gang stalking. She's seated inside of the clubhouse during the video that's captured at the 8 o'clock hour, 8:45 a.m. Her co-defendants provide a body of evidence against her. This is the same thing that the people of the state do against the government that's conclusively already proven as a gang stalker. This is what LAPD is doing in an environment where the sun can never possibly be over me in Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens, in a natural environment. But in an engineered environment, in the specific environment, that's exactly what's over me, and it defies nature that is the case. In the same way that it defies nature that the sun is sitting over Tracy Banks' front door, and it's directly relevant to the amplified sound of train, the amplified sound of demons that are speeding on a residential street where you're not supposed to go faster than 25 miles per hour. And it's relevant because that's not the explanation for the amplified audible activity that occurred with simultaneity to identifying the state actors who are going to be removed from positions, gang stalking by position. Michael Gherkin, the fire chief of Ontario, the gang stalking Ontario Fire Department. Mike Lorenz, the police chief of the gang stalking Ontario Police Department. Alan D. Wapner, the gang stalker in position as he's a gang stalking president of the Ontario International Airport. He's also a gang stalker on the corrupt gang stalking Ontario City Council with the chief of demons of a fake pastor and Paul Leon. Again, this is the gang stalking mayor on the city council in the city of Ontario. And as I identify those sex offenders by name, that's when the entity is gang stalking. And under the guise of a demon that's just driving irresponsibly and speeding on Vine Avenue, which is not going to be at that level of volume. Amplification is what is relevant. The simultaneity of conduct with what I'm documenting, which causes demons to manifest because they're hostile and enraged by it, and they are the stalkers. Psychopaths are hostile about being exposed as stalkers. It's not like I'm calling names regarding things that have nothing to do with them. They are monitoring, stalking, and concerned with my vagina in the bathroom. You're a sex offender. You're engaged in stalking me while I'm in the bathroom. That's the purpose of having the fake sun over the apartment building where demons are stalking with amplified noise, like license 5WUB715 is doing at 3:46 the moment that I stopped the video, like she was doing in the course of the video that I captured regarding surveillance that's underway on the internet. As Tracy Banks exits the front door, impossible light flashes into her apartment. That's a demon that's manifesting, whose severe mental illness is closeted through the aggression that's exposed through the stalking with light behavior. And as she walks away, she is proven as someone that is a demon-possessed gang stalker and never has been a targeted individual, never has created any content as a targeted individual, has only engaged in what is theft of content that belongs to me, the targeted individual, which is merely only a type idle for purposes of documenting the ordinary targeted individual's status and position, which is directly distinct and different from the demons who are gang stalking. They're pacing in and out of the parking lot. The fake sun remained over me while they are driving onto the grounds, while they're driving on Vine Avenue and G Street, which is directly opposite of what I'm documenting in every moving vehicle. The fake sun is in motion remaining over me, and it is impossible for it to be sitting idle over the apartment building of the demon that's gang stalking in Unit 55, that's dropping bowling balls and detonating bombs and cracking the walls and ceiling, while it is documented today from 9 until after 3 p.m., where I'm documenting the fake sun in motion in real time, for example, in West Covina, and I'm on Lark Ellen and Amar, and I'm documenting the West Covina Police Department gang stalking under the fake sun. That's in motion while I drive down Lark Ellen, and in motion while I drive down Amar, and the West Covina Police Department is crossing path engaging in criminal summoning under a light source that is not the natural environment. It never coexists with documentation of an idle sun that's sitting over one apartment door for 6 hours. Everything in that environment is facilitating that P.O.C. That P.O.C. is psychological torture and sexual violence that Tracy Banks is engaged in, as surely as you see that fake sun remain stationary over me, and she walks away from it, monitoring me and stalking me in doing so. Doing so with males and females, where she's engaged in monitoring my vagina like the pedophile she is and has been since I was a child. And she is doing so while her neighbors are providing evidence against her and her co-defendants, AVANATH Capital Management, and LYNDA Reyes and every other employee who are going to federal prison. And that video that you just listened to, the 2 videos that you just listened to, and the entity is engaging in what is gang stalking. All that amplified audible activity by traffic, by the train, by the population, the demons in units 33 through 64 who are maintaining presence, including by pacing outside of unit 41, and the Latino male who's pacing. Let me read his license plate again. He's the one that's in operation of the vehicle while I'm inside of the apartment. And so this is a short amount of time. When I come back inside of the apartment after capturing the fake sun in the first video, capturing YouTube, monitoring me on the video of the internet, surveillance underway on the internet, that vehicle is not present when I show the fake sun. After I walk out, this is minutes later, because Tracy Banks monitors by exiting the apartment. And as I exit the apartment, you see this vehicle parked in the parking lot. He is monitoring and engaging in psychological torture and engaging in what is the sex offense, the perpetual sex offense, stalking a woman, monitoring a woman in the shoes of the state, while he is engaging in the P.O.C., while the psychopath in Unit 55 is the form for amplified audible noise. His license plate is... Okay, I expected that to go out. Let me see. I want to include it in this podcast. Oh no, actually I think it would be at the beginning. His video right here. I'm reviewing it right now in real time. His license plate is captured in the video that's at 3:37 p.m. And like I documented in the video, the fake sun is remaining directly over my bedroom window at this time of year, which was March 30th, 2024, when I'm in Los Angeles looking outside of my bedroom window, and LAPD is gang stalking at 3:37 p.m. at the exact same time, which is time of year analysis, and the same exact time, also duration of time analysis is at play right here as well, because from 9 a.m. until the current time, the fake sun has been idle. So in the natural environment, the sun, it's mutually exclusive. The sun in a natural environment could never be over Alvarado Gardens. When you're reviewing evidence that's already captured, however, this is speaking to what is not the natural environment at Woodside Senior Apartments, even where you isolate the universe, meaning don't compare it to any other place. The sun is not going to sit over one front door for 6 hours. Either way that you carve it and look at it and analyze it, the demons are surrounded with evidence, and they are never avoiding federal prison and mental asylums. And it includes for theft of evidence against itself. It includes for impunity and criminal acts of obstruction of justice, and also engaging in what is stalking on camera. This is the audacity of somebody that's hiding in your bushes, trying to break into your house, stalking you, and is doing so while you then point a camera at them stalking you, and they don't run away. They don't stop stalking. They continue stalking. They stand there boldly in the face of the camera. Moreover, they engage in more aggressive stalking tactics while you document them, which any stalker under traditional stalking, you have to document a pattern of conduct. The entity that's engaging in a pattern of conduct of gang stalking, stalking as a community, conspicuously in your face, is engaging in more aggressive, and that aggression is analyzed with regard to the amplified audible activity, the engineered light, and the maintenance of that fake sun, and documenting it, and with that probative evidence as well. And the demons become more aggressive when you're paying attention to the amplified train, when you're paying attention to the amplified traffic as I name gang stalkers by position in the city of Ontario. Michael Gherkin, Alan D. Wapner, Paul Leon, Mike Lorenz, etc. The demons are engaging in that. Pay attention to what you're hearing and pay attention to what I'm saying as you hear it. They are monitoring everything that I'm saying. They're also sex offenders monitoring my vagina, monitoring my genitalia in the bathroom. Sex offenders. Okay, I want to get this license plate. Let me read it for you. The sex offender that's engaged in what is psychological torture and stalking a woman, engaging in what is domestic terrorism. It's not just ordinary stalking. This Latino male with the salt and pepper beard is crossing path by walking back to his vehicle. He's only on the grounds engaging in the pattern of conduct while I'm inside of the apartment. In the video, 3:37 p.m., you will see him crossing path, getting into his vehicle, which is a means of monitoring, with Tracy Banks, who's also driving off the property, monitoring while, by the way, the fake sun isn't over her, inside of her car, which is what I document while I'm inside of my car. It's right over my head, which is where it remains, rising and setting over me. That is not a targeted individual. And the malice with which she is engaging in gang stalking with the government, and for any state actor to state that they were under a spell, is legally irrelevant, and you are subject to federal prison. To permit any gang stalker, such as the demons at Lynda Reyes and the demons in units 33 to 64, to avoid federal prison, and to treat anybody that's of the government, such as Jason Isaac Fields, to avoid federal prison, that is injustice. And that is different treatment under the law, where none of them are superior to it. None of them are above it. And they are equally threatening my life, by the way. This is the entity that's engaging in that. I want to point that out. Tracy Banks belongs in a mental asylum, and so does Jason Isaac Fields. Never mind the fact that you're claiming you were under a spell. That doesn't help people that are already dead from the system of gang stalking. No one's apology will bring them back to life. No one's claim about they were under a spell is relevant with regard to public corruption committed by the government. Any demon-possessed person is available in order to engage in that P.O.C. I don't care about this demon in Unit 55's apology, because she's going to be sorry in federal, in the confinement, where she's subject to confinement, but she's going to be sorry in federal court. I don't care about her apology. I do not care about her apology. I don't care about her being sorry. I know she's sorry. I'm documenting it on a daily basis. It is legally irrelevant, the fact that she is demon-possessed, insofar as having a defense. It is relevant insofar as not only is the entity stalking as a government program in an environment, it's relevant that it's also demonic. It's relevant that they're doing it as a community. It's relevant that they're doing it vicariously with the state, with the government itself, the public entity, and that it is demonic. That is speaking to the multiple layers of understanding domestic terrorism amongst a surveillance system that is demonic. It's not legally relevant to claim, because she is demon possessed. Her behavior is proving that. It's relevant for diagnosing mental illness, that demon possession is what is inspiring the very demented behavior of amplified audible activity, which you're going to be prosecuted in what it should be the natural environment. So defendant, what is it that you're doing inside of your apartment that's creating that amplified noise? Like you're dropping bowling ball? Are you throwing your body on the ground? Are you beating your head on the wall? In other words, you need medical attention. You're going to get it. You're gang stalking, period. You're getting medical attention. You're going to be diagnosed. You're stalking me, and you're stalking me as a stranger. And the only reason why the government engages in this with the population is to criminally defame that targeted individual. You're going to be diagnosed, period. But I'm also going to have this documentation serve to diagnose you for the ways in which you exhibit your mental instability by stalking with amplified noise. In the way in which you're going to have to explain in court, what were you doing to make that noise? And the entity knows it's malice, it's demonic. In fact, the demon doesn't even have to be in the apartment for it to be underway. The demon resides in that apartment, remains in that apartment as a means of always being present while that noise is ongoing, that fake sun is present, that engineered light is present, stalking in the path. Because the human being itself is not responsible for causing the walls and the ceiling to crack. But you are nonetheless criminally responsible. The government cannot do it without the people of the state being present. They need them on the streets and the trap. They need them in the parking lot. They need them driving through that parking lot. And everybody that's documented in units 33 through 64 are going to prison in mental asylums. Lynda Reyes is going to prison by her own co-defendants that are pacing outside of unit 41. They're getting locked up. Those children are being taken away. And Lynda Reyes is going to federal prison as well. As surely as they're engaging in documented impunity. Her co-defendant, Lynda Reyes, is under that same fake sun over the same strip of sidewalk at 8:40 in the morning. That's malice. That's the purpose of that fake sun being there. And it's the very poorly set stage where a bunch of demons are stalking together. They stalk with methods of loud noise. The loud noise is relevant to how surveillance is executed in an environment where you're ignorant, but no one is ignorant. You're witnessing how non-ignorant I am, and the stalker engages in more aggressive monitoring tactics, stalking tactics, psychological torture tactics. That's relevant to diagnosis and prosecution. The demon that's driving on Vine Avenue, I don't need the license plate. Paul Leon's being removed from office. The Ontario Police Department is done with law enforcement. Michael Gherkin's not going anywhere else to be engaged in firefighting. The demons in units 33 to 64 are being prosecuted. They're going to prison and mental asylums. AVANATH's pockets are going to be drained. It's criminal interference with quiet enjoyment, including while I'm documenting the impossible light activity. It's a means of nothing other than molesting my body by a bunch of sex offenders who are keeping me under surveillance. And the government has no warrant or probable cause. So let me read you this license plate of this third party that's crossing path, stalking in the path, monitoring, engaging in psychological torture, engaging in a sex offense, monitoring a woman, stalking a woman is what that is. Monitoring is evidence of what is stalking, domestic terrorism that's committed by the government. The people of the state are in the shoes of the government that's acting through the third party license plate that I'm going to read to you now. And that vehicle license plate, this is a Latino male accessing the vehicle. He is stalking in the path, creating activity, crossing in the path by walking on the sidewalk. You can see the path that he's walking while he's monitoring while I'm outside. This is what he was doing while I was inside, and I was documenting the gang stalking that is clearly demonstrating mental illness of the demons in units 49 through 64 who are stalking in the path. And these are people over 55, and they're supposedly the cause for what are bombs repeatedly detonating. Remember, not just now in the afternoon, but at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock at night, where none of these demons are actually sleeping, period, at all. They're engaged in surveillance, and that's why the environment is here. And the pattern of conduct by the government is also demonstrating that they're not sleeping. And this is, again, coexisting with what is license 8 Wendy Henry Charlie 403 is simultaneously outside monitoring in the path under an idle fake sun that is 6 hours over Tracy Banks's front door. He is gang stalking with the city of Ontario. That sounds amplified train, impossible to hear. That's amplification is demonic. And also Tracy Banks, that's again walking away from the front door, and the fake sun remains stationary. The fake sun doesn't move. And I do the same thing that Tracy Banks does, and the fake sun moves in real time. And there's not more than one sun where you would have the shared experience. That would be impossible to coexist, and I'm capturing that impossibility on video. It's also impossible that the sun, but I already captured that impossibility, the fact that the sun is over Woodside Senior Apartments over me. And at the same exact time, that is 3:37 at this same time of year on March 30th, 2024, Gabriel Arriaga Carbajal and the Los Angeles Police Department are sharing the elements of monitoring gang stalking while that fake sun is hovering right low enough to be seen right over my bedroom window, which is on the 3rd floor facing Alvarado Street. That is not over my head, where license 8 Wendy Henry Charlie 403 is intentionally in the path in that supernatural environment amongst amplified audible activity with the elderly people who are stalking with amplified noise, pacing in and out of their apartments like Unit 41 is doing, and doing so with knowledge that they're being documented. So their impunity by go ahead and walking outside of the apartment again to monitor someone else is speaking to impunity and the needfulness of being locked up in a mental asylum, which is exactly where you belong. When you're stalking someone with light, that's unheard of. When you're stalking someone with noise, that's unheard of, and it's entirely demented. It's kooky, it's very weird, it's creepy, it's demented, it's demonstrating outwardly, meaning their mental illness is not closeted anymore. They are walking and proving and demonstrating mental illness while they are gang stalking with knowledge, because they're all engaged in surveillance and know what I'm documenting and made the decision to outwardly demonstrate mental illness as psychopaths stalking one person, monitoring one person together. That's the absence of any actual retaliation by the demon possessed who manifest while they are being documented. They exhibit to their own demise the fact that they are gang stalking, the fact that they're demon possessed, and the fact that they are engaging in what are criminal acts of obstruction of justice, while a delusional and short-sighted demon possessed entity engages in on more of that conduct. That's psychopathic, to engage in more violence, to engage in more harm harm of another person, but it's to their own demise because they're being prosecuted for it. And everybody in units 33 through 64 are gang stalking with license 8 Wendy Henry Charlie 403. Everybody in units 33 through 64 are gang stalking with the demons pacing in the parking lot. They're gang stalking with Tracy Banks, who walks to the parking lot, and the fake son notably remains stationary, doesn't remain over her like would be the case, as I've shown in the body of evidence, revealing the target individual, like is the case when she's stealing my content and misrepresenting it as hers, and she's representing herself as the one that's being targeted under the fake son. But that's directly contrasting with what I'm documenting when she's under the fake son. She walks away from it, and that fake son remains over me, the focal point of who she is stalking and monitoring, the person who she's trying to conspire to murder and kidnap and defame. That fake son doesn't move over her like would be the case if she was the target individual. She's the demon-possessed gang stalker. And her mental illness is exhibiting that. She's gang stalking her own relative with the government, engaging in sexual violence with males and females. And she's engaged in surveillance. She knows about the evidence. She even tried to steal my evidence and misrepresent it as hers and profit from it. Okay, this is somebody that is severely ill, and so are all the co-defendants who are monitoring in the environment. Never mind the relationship. The demon-possessed don't have to physically know each other. They are united in that specific environment and united in their behavioral patterns. All right, it is currently, by the way, 4:12 p.m. This is documentation of AVANATH Capital Management on its property. You just saw, you listened to what are a whole bunch of demons pacing around. That is engaging in domestic terrorism on your property, where you're profiting from a business. You are making money off of what is domestic terrorism and psychological torture, which, by the way, you're not ignorantly doing when your employees are engaging in that pattern of conduct, where you are engaging in that with the government. Regardless of what you claim, you're going to be held responsible for that. And that is reasonable, where the entity is also engaged in what is surveillance, as I've also proven. AVANATH is not ignorantly being held accountable. AVANATH is aware of everything that it's being documented, and what AVANATH will be responsible for is everything that's happening on its property, which is a facilitating venue. Because in Irvine, California, where AVANATH is headquartered, they're also engaged in state surveillance. It's a facilitating venue. The state of California is monitoring, and I'm prosecuting AVANATH even while I sit inside of the buildings where they are maintaining a property that is a facilitating venue. And domestic terrorism and psychological torture is underway, like the demon in Unit 55 so clearly demonstrates, to the demise of people like Daryl J. Carter. Somebody who is going to be prosecuted and whose pockets I'm going to drain with regard to everything that he's profiting from while he is stalking a woman in violation of the Violence Against Women Act, while your property is the means of federal group stalking and monitoring. That's how you're going to be held accountable for that. Just like anybody that's gang stalking in their home, in their house where they pay the mortgage, you are going to be held responsible for what you are profiting from. And this is justice, because the demon-possessed are gang stalking with the government. It is currently 4:14 p.m. This is Woodside Senior Apartments, where LYNDA Reyes is documentation of gang stalk with the Ontario Police, which you saw during the 9 a.m. hour yesterday, May 8, 2025, where the entity engages in what is stalking in the path over the same sidewalk that's over me, while she is gang stalking as a third party that's subject to federal prison. As surely as you see the same fake son 6 hours, but during the 8 a.m. hour, let's count together to what would be after 3 p.m. today, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. That's 7 hours that the son is remaining over this same strip of sidewalk where LYNDA Reyes is intentionally crossing path and stalking with audible activity, while Unit 56's dogs barking is a means of stalking with noise, while I begin movement inside of the apartment, while LYNDA Reyes is stalking outside of the door of the apartment where I can't see her, but that demon-possessed gang stalker knows what I'm doing on the inside. And that's the explanation for the simultaneity of dogs barking under an idle fake son that's still over the same front door 7 hours later, like the documentation over 24 hours later proves, that LYNDA Reyes is gang stalking, and she's going to federal prison for gang stalking with the demons that are pacing on the property, gang stalking with the demons that are living at the property, acting with impunity. LYNDA Reyes' impunity is hereby analyzed as well. These are the breaks of gang stalking as an entity. This is P.O.C. All right, images captured at 4:51 p.m. is documentation of Tracy Banks gang stalking while she's monitoring my device as the documentation is being uploaded, as I'm uploading it onto the Google Drive in real time. 4:51 p.m. you'll see this demon inside of the apartment where the fake son is sitting 7 hours over her apartment. Even while she walks away from it, gets in her car and drives away, she is still gang stalking as an entity, one who is a demon that's aware that she's being documented, and you're being documented monitoring while you walk away from the apartment, and the fake son remains over me, and you're crossing path creating light activity with all the males and females who are engaging in the sex offense with you, with knowledge that it's being documented is speaking to malice. This is also an ignoramus. Walking in and out of the apartment is how Tracy Banks is monitoring me and monitoring the evidence exhibiting impunity and the delusion of the psychopath that she is, the career sex offender that she is, a pedophile who is monitoring me in real time while I'm documenting the fact that she is gang stalking in furtherance of murder and kidnapping with her psychopathic co-defendants who are stalking with amplified noise, stalking with light, pacing all around together, because that's all they're doing under this fake sun that's over the apartment for 7 hours. They're not walking and engaging in traffic and minding their business. They're all pacing. All they're doing is monitoring me, and it's very sick what the demon possessed are shown to be doing when you can look at it big picture. And Tracy Banks is pacing in and out of the apartment as the images show her doing. She's stalking me and doing that. Stalking is relevant to what is occurring in the specific environment while you're monitoring. This is P.O.C. 4:52 p.m. Tracy Banks' apartment is where impossible light activity while she is pacing outside of the apartment monitoring me. This is a psychopath that's, again, manifesting while she is monitoring the evidence that's being published. And inside of the apartment is where engineered light is spanning across her, inside of her apartment, across her bedroom door, while she just walks outside of the apartment, which is relevant to crossing path, light activity, audible activity. Impossible light fills the apartment while she's incessantly pacing in and out of it to monitor. Stepping out of the apartment where impossible light is happening inside of your apartment is the documentation prosecuting you for gang stalking and exhibiting mental illness while inside of your apartment where you're monitoring with the state impossible light activity, which is a conclusive and what is already a proven fact of stalking with light. That's what's happening while I'm documenting Tracy, a psychopath who is merely outside of the apartment while she's listening to every word that I'm stating and documenting this sex offender. This is P.O.C. while Tracy is stalking with light while she steps out of the apartment to do so. And she's monitoring evidence of violation of federal stalking statute, Title 18, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2. And she is equally psychopathic and demented as the demon in Unit 55 who stalks with amplified noise. P.O.C.